ready?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, cool. So how many of you guys can honestly say that you know somebody who's contracted the polio virus in your lifetime? Congratulations, almost all of you have benefited from the discovery of HeLa cells. Not only have HeLa cells helped discover and test the polio vaccine, but they have also helped test the effects of radiation on our cells. They have also helped advance cancer research in general. But why are HeLa cells so important to us today? We're just college students. Since the unethical discovery of HeLa cells in 1951, they have affected the medical and research field both scientifically and ethically. But in order to understand the full importance of HeLa cells, we must look at who they came from, why they're considered to be immortal, and lastly, how they affect modern medicine. In a local clinic in Baltimore, Maryland in the early 1950s, a woman by the name of Henrietta Lacks went in to get a lump on her cervix evaluated. Little did she know that this small lump would change the course of medical history forever. Rebecca Skloot, the author of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, stated that the staff of the Johns Hopkins Hospital could perform any operative procedure under any anesthetic, either local or general, that they may deem necessary to Mrs. Lacks. Little did Henrietta know that her doctor, Dr. George Guy, had a different agenda in mind. Deep inside of the lab of Johns Hopkins Hospital, he was trying to create the first immortal cell line. And little did he know that Henrietta's cells were going to be his big breakthrough. But how can cells be immortal? We all die, and so do cells. But to understand this, we need to look at the science behind HeLa cells. All cells go through, all the cells that Dr. Guy first took off of his patients, they weren't able to be grown in vitro. And the HeLa cells were the first ones to be grown in vitro, or in a test tube. Shauna Freeman, on How Stuff Works, states that billions of HeLa cells are found in all the laboratories throughout the world. You can even buy HeLa cells on Amazon, which is pretty cool. All cells go through something called programmed cell death. But in cancer cells, this process is corrupted. Cells are constantly going through a cycle of birth, rebirth, and reproduction, and eventually they all die. But like I said before, cancer cells, this is corrupted. Even the cancer cells collected by Dr. Guy would die eventually while being in a test tube after a few replications. But Henrietta's cells kept multiplying and they wouldn't die. There's still an unknown cause of why Henrietta's cells are still so hardy and why they're still multiplying today. But scientists believe it's a mix between her being HPV positive, having syphilis, and cervical cancer, all while her cells were being taken from her. Unfortunately, Dr. George Guy never saw a profit from his cells. He simply just sold them to colleagues who asked for them. But in HeLa cell, even though there are many other different types of cell lines today, HeLa cells remain the most popular since they're easy to store, easy to ship, and easy to grow. Over 20% of all cell lines today are actually infected with HeLa cells, which is pretty cool considering that they're just a little cell and they've affected all of this research. But since they can affect research, they have caused costly effects in research all throughout the world. But even though they have proven to be disastrous, they have affected modern medicine today greatly. In addition to the worth in the scientific community that I stated earlier, like the polio vaccine and cancer research, they have also affected the community in multiple other ways. A popular science article called 5 Reasons Henrietta Lacks is the Most Important Woman in Medical History states that before HeLa cells were created, scientists would try to keep a cell line alive more than they were actually doing the research that they needed the cell line for. HeLa cells have also broken the barriers for in vitro fertilization, and they have helped scientists understand that humans have 46 chromosomes and not 48, which has helped identify genetic diseases and their markers. But not only have HeLa cells affected the medical community and the scientific portion of it, but the ethical portion as well. Since Mrs. Skloot, the author of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, has started doing research for her book, the Lacks family fully understood that their mother's cells were still alive today. The Lacks family still has not even seen a profit from her HeLa cells that, like I said before, are found all throughout the world today. The University of Minnesota Health Talk states that the National Institute of Health has been trying to create the privacy for the Lacks family since nobody else was trying to do that before. All of this research that was done with HeLa cells was just made available to the public, and that exploited many of the Lacks family traditions. So overall, HeLa cells have altered medicine in multiple ways and created a platform for medical consent and privacy. But we must keep in mind why they're important, who they came from, and why exactly they're considered to be immortal and how they affect modern medicine today. So the next time you guys go to the doctor, keep in mind the woman who might help discover the treatment to what may save your lives later in the future.